Alright guys, so I'm just going to give you some feedback on your mid-year exam. Overall, the results were not good. As you can see from your exam papers, there is a lot that we need to work on, which is a bit of a surprise to me because going through your previous exam results and your previous assessment results, they were quite good, so I'm not sure what went wrong here. I'll go through each of the sections first. So multiple choice was out of 20, our average was 11, which isn't good. Our minimum was 7 and our maximum was 16. So looking at that range, it's not fantastic. We all should be aiming for 16 and above, especially multiple choice. This is easy marks for us to pick up on. Short answer, again, the average was 13, with the maximum being 16. Again, that should be at least our minimum. That should not be our maximum. Simple errors that were made that just we couldn't follow through. We just were making simple errors that obviously would cost us our marks there. Again, I'll go through the exam to see where we went wrong. This was the biggest disappointment here. Out of 40, our average was 17. It wasn't even a pass. 27 out of 40 as a max is definitely something that we need to work on. Again, with our marks before these, we haven't had results that have been this poor. So again, there's something that we need to take into account now that we need to address before trials come around. Our maximum total as a percentage, so out of 85, was 61%. 61% is, again, not even a pass in HSC. Remember, HSC level 75% is a pass. We're not even passing. Our highest band was 3. That came as a shock to me, and only one person got that, with the other bands ranging from 1, 2, and 3. Again, we need some serious work here. I'll go through the exam, I'll explain some of the errors that we made, and then hopefully we can rectify this issue. Okay, so I won't go through multiple choice. I'll start off on section 2. Now with section 2, or with all the section, there is a time limit that's given to you. You need to stick to these time limits. Okay, 30 minutes for this section is what you need, and that's all you need. Going through this question here, you've got Denmark, Western Australia. Okay, don't confuse with the name, it's found in Western Australia. You've got the average temperature in Celsius that's found here. So for that month, 20 degrees was the average for January, 19 for February, 18 for March, and so forth. Okay, the average precipitation for that month, so how much it rained for that month, was around 22.3 on average. Okay, so that was for January, 27.3 for February, and so on. Now this graph here is basically this information that's found in the table in a graph form. You've got temperature on the right hand side and precipitation on the left hand side with the months down below. The line indicates temperature and the bars indicate precipitation. Okay, so we did a few examples of this on the day that you all were here, and it's just basic information that we need to know how to read. So when it comes to the question, temperature range is the highest minus the lowest. Okay, when we're looking for a range, some of you wrote the range was between 20 and 11. Yes, it is the range, but you're not telling me what the difference between them is. So for that answer, it is 9 degrees. The annual average precipitation for Denmark in WA. I think we all got thrown off by this word average. Average precipitation. All you had to do was add them all up, and that was it. You weren't finding an average because the average was given for you. All you had to do was add them all up. The answer was 1,000.2 millimeters. So C, using climatic data only. Most of you answered this one well. How does the climate data reveal Denmark is found in the southern hemisphere? So you're looking at the colder temperatures being in June, July, August, with the warmer temperatures in December, January and February. Precipitation doesn't really indicate whether it's a season, so it's more on the temperature side. And then in which season does Denmark receive or experience the maximum precipitation? And the answer is winter, okay? Because we have discovered that Denmark in WA is in the southern hemisphere. Right, moving on. With reference to sources C and D on page 1 of the stimulus booklet, you need to examine the biophysical interactions which lead to diverse ecosystems. So looking at your stimulus booklet, you would see that C and D were a map of WA, looking at precipitation, and then something about the Fingal tree rainforest or something like that there, or the trees that are there. So looking at the biophysical interactions, so how do the biophysical interactions, or how do they interact to create a diverse ecosystem? In this section, a lot of you spoke really well about the biophysical interactions, but forgot to talk about the diverse ecosystem. Okay? Examine, you are to inquire into. Just understand what that word means. So again, make sure you are answering all parts of the question. So for sources G, H and I on page 4 of the stimulus booklet, evaluate, which means make a judgment. Evaluate contemporary management strategies in terms of ecological sustainability. So this one was worth 6 marks. So again, a lot of you were talking about the management strategies and you were doing that really well, but you just weren't making a judgment. So you couldn't get those higher marks because there was no judgment made. Had it said describe the contemporary management strategies, the majority of you would have received 6 out of 6. However, because it said evaluate, make a judgment, you need to know, are they working well, are they not so well, and then you've got to relate it back to the sustainability. So how is the environment and people working together to make sure it is maintained for future generations? Alright, so examine the results of urban dynamics on the culture of a place, of a large city from the developed world. So again, this one was worth 6 marks as well. So again, we're inquiring into the urban dynamics of a large city and how it has and how it influences the culture of that place. A lot of you spoke about Sydney, which is fine. However, remember, you're looking at urban dynamics of a large city from the developed world. Okay, you're looking at cities in the developed world, and then you support your answers with examples. So we lacked on examples and we lacked on answering the question. So relate it back to culture. How does that influence culture? Okay, for 4 marks, we had analyse the factors that contribute to the growth of megacities in the developing world. We're analysing. Okay, we're identifying components and relationships between them. So, what are the factors that contribute to growth of megacities in the developing world? How do they contribute to the developing world? How do they contribute towards that? So, what are those factors? So you spoke about push and pull factors, which is fantastic. How does it promote growth? You spoke about increasing populations or the development of outskirts cities. Again, you identified a lot of the factors, but you just didn't make that connection. You didn't create that relationship between them. An extended response. Okay, so again, you had around an hour for this section. You had to answer 2 questions only. Okay, there was one person that answered all 3 of them. And obviously, if you're answering 3 of them, you're not giving them the best or the equal amount. Some of you only answered one, and that contributed to the poor the results that we received. So if you're looking at the two questions that you should have answered were question 24 and question 25, because we have not studied 26 yet. That's our next topic. The only reason why I included that in there was just to show you the structure of an exam. So for the first one, we need to account for the vulnerability and resilience of ecosystems. Okay, a lot of you spoke about vulnerability really well, but failed to mention resilience. Okay, so we're accounting for what you needed to do was give a comprehensive understanding of the reasons that result in the vulnerability and resilience of ecosystem. You need to provide detailed reference to appropriate case studies and or illustrative examples. You need to present a sustained, logical and well-structured answer using geographical terminology, ideas and issues. Again, a lot of you were doing great descriptions, and then a lot of you went into the management strategies straight away. Had the question asked for management strategies, then yes, of course, but we're not looking at that. We're looking at reasons for the vulnerability and resilience of ecosystems, and you relate those back to your case studies, so coastal dunes and coral reefs. Remember, our case study isn't the Great Barrier Reef, it's coral reefs, okay? Just like coastal dunes, and then we use Coleroy, and then we use Great Barrier Reef for the other one. Describe and account for the nature, character and spatial distribution of world cities. I read great essays on Sydney, okay? It didn't describe and account for the nature, character and spatial distributions of world cities. Sydney is an example, okay? We need to look at what world cities are. That's what the nature is. So describe what are the characteristics and features of world cities. What are their characteristics? So go into more detail there. Where are they located? Okay, in order for us to answer the nature, the character and the spatial distribution, yes, we need to talk about examples, but that should not be the main focus of your essay. Okay, this one was probably the most poorly answered one because it was the most simple question that you could possibly get. What are world cities? What makes a world city? And where are they? There were the three areas that you had to address here. So hopefully this gives you a better understanding of what we will be looking for, and I definitely will be needing you to work harder on constructing a response, and we'll be definitely doing a lot more examples and a lot more practices of these. Once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.